Hey, welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken. We told you we're going to keep giving it to you live and we're going to keep sharing these life experiences because it is truly, truly important. Today, we have Marianne St. Clair and she is raw too. So I know she's going to bring it to you and she is unfiltered and unspoken as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just go ahead and get into it. Marianne, can you tell a brief overview about yourself?
Thank you, both of you, for allowing me to be here. So, my name is Marianne St. Clair, and I am here on this podcast because I have a story to tell that hopefully will help you heal and come back into your wholeness. So, I've been musing for the past, I'm really bringing the muse, which, what is that? It's the divine feminine, and I've been coaching for 23 years. I'm all about you reclaiming your sovereignty, really owning your voice, owning your message, owning your body. Yes, your body, and really owning your sexuality, relationships, and really building an orgasmic life. Who doesn't want to live an orgasmic life? That is one that you truly love, that has pleasure as the main component, and that you play and have fun every day. So that's me.
All right. Well, I love that, and I definitely want to get into that. But let's start. On the build up. For one, just looking at the Good Fight Unfiltered Unspoken platform. What is it that drew you to us? Where did you correlate what you have been through? With the message and what you see in the mission of the Good Fight.
So first and foremost, I was molested twice, as once at 6 and once at 7.5, and two different people, two different men, and through that process, and I love what you all are about. I love that you give me a platform to come and share how this journey of being a young girl who was molested, and I wasn't violently molested, but one was, it I actually, it felt good. And so I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't speak about it. I didn't tell anybody. And then the next one was my mom's boyfriend. We were camping, and my mom was she was laying on the outside of the bed. He was laying in between us, and I was laying on the aisle. And she was right there. So I learned that, my mom couldn't protect me. She was there, but she wasn't my protector. So I spent a lot of years really holding that in, not really owning my body, although I didn't have that physical trauma, but I had emotional trauma. I separated a lot from my body. And what I love about this platform is it's let's talk about it. I want to bring my story forward so that maybe, another woman or even another man or even a mom or a dad, somebody it can maybe touch and allow somebody to begin to heal, begin to find that wholeness, or maybe just even take a step towards that.
Okay. So you said the first time as a child, because we usually get the opposite, you said it felt good. Did you?
It did. It did. I've always carried a lot of sexual energy. Even as a little girl, I was a healer. I would kind of go around, and I would be around the elderly ladies, and I was always in that really feminine place of, and I would get approached or I would get catcalled even from a little teeny girl. So when I was first molested, it was we went over to a family. I mean, my dad was in a business association. He was in a business group. It was called Buyers and Sellers, but it was kind of, like Rotary Club or one of those. And what happened was we went over for a picnic, and then they were like, "Oh, well, let's let Marianne stay." And so I stayed and spent the night. This was fun. This was a different experience. I got to go in the pool. I got to do fun things. And so the husband came in at nighttime and was fondling me and having oral sex on my little 5, 6-year-old body. But it wasn't penetration. It didn't hurt, but it felt good. And so I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know what to do with those feelings. I didn't know how to it was a different experience, and I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know what to do. So there may be some people that have had trauma, that have been molested, and it felt good to them versus the normal of it felt, it was really painful.
Now, with that experience, did you let? Well, I know you said you didn't know kind of what to do with those emotions. So have you did not tell anyone at all about that experience? At that time or close to that time.
Not close to that time, but I started changing some of my behaviors after the second one. I started acting out a little bit more. I started being more needing of attention. And, I just, it was, I'm just trying to think of the other ways that um, my sister and I are a year apart, and I'm the youngest of my family. And through this experience, I think I this along with my parents getting divorced at the same right after this, after the first one, not after the second one, but my parents got divorced. And through that, it was like I had to grow up, through the divorce and being molested, that little girl who was carefree and life changed. It changed in those blink of an eye, you know.
Wow. So, just for those tuning in, uh, Marianne was molested twice. The first time at 6, which we have the opposite. She enjoyed it because it was oral, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Mm-hmm.
say that right. And the
Yes.
second time, it it was awful, and it was your mom's boyfriend whom was
Mm-hmm.
laying. Mom was in the bed, and he was on the other side, and I guess
Yeah.
that was penetration.
It was more by this time, the first one, you do that freeze. You do
Hmm.
that, this is wrong, but you don't know how to process these. You don't have any tools to process it. When the second one happened, and it was like my mom was right there, but he was like breathing down my throat, my neck, and he was penetrating me with his fingers, but he was like, "Don't say anything. If you say something, it's only going to hurt your mom." And so, I was given that guilt. I was given that shame place of, close the mouth and don't say anything because, and I tended to think, it was my fault, in some way, shape, or form. Why is this happening to me twice? And was it my fault? You know.
And it certainly was not. And I'm glad that you had that realization. For people watching, if you've been through that, it's not your fault. So I'm grateful that you are here to say that. Now, what age did we get to? That you finally were able to get that off your chest, or able to share that, with anyone, family, psychiatrist, anything. When were you able to actually let that off your heart?
Well, here's one piece that's really interesting. So my mom started noticing that there was something happening with my behavior, and so they went and sought, professional help, and they sought a psychiatrist. And instead of bringing me in and talking about it, they advised them not to say anything. They advised them just to sit there and wait until I said something. Well, when you're that young, you you're if you're changing in behavior, I think as adults, it's like, let's sit down and let's have some conversations to bring out what is, happening, what's actually being seen. And so that didn't happen. So I didn't get the help then. And it wasn't until I really started a lot of my own healing and my own journey. And then I told my mom first. I told my mom probably in my 30s, maybe in my 20s, because I started coaching 23 years ago, 24 years ago. So I did a lot of self-help and stuff. And so I did a lot of healing, a lot of different modalities and plus counseling. But it wasn't until I was in my 40s. I'm 60 now. I just turned 60, but it wasn't until I was in my mid 40s that I told my dad. And, that was, it was kind of like disbelief and didn't really understand. But, I guess he embraced it with the capacity that he had, you know, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, that happened. I wish you had told me then, or nothing like that. But, I'm okay with the response because they didn't know. I didn't tell. But I think as adults, we really need to be cognizant when we see behavioral changes in kids.
Most
So,
definitely.
oh, sorry. Did you feel like the neglection piece from your parents because I guess there was, I'm hurting, but no one is validating the hurt that I'm going through. So, what are some of the behavioral issues that you had from the trauma and that missing piece of your parents not validating that hurtful feeling that you were going through?
Yeah. I really began, growing up too fast. And then I became even sexually promiscuous, wanting to follow it and understand it and everything too young myself. Because, okay, well, that felt good back then. So here was these urges when I was starting to get into the puberty stage. We went on a vacation and we were camping across the United States, and I was exploring, and we were like, finding boys to hang out with, uh, and so I think they really should have asked me. They should have, from a place, I mean, life was more distant. Life was not, you didn't have conversations around sex. You didn't have conversations around, what our bodies, we didn't, it was more hush hush. And so I think really getting, my mom could have, oh, here's a piece. I resented my mom. I resented her big time. I'm like, you were laying right there. You had your boyfriend and you didn't protect me. So for the longest time, for probably until I was 20, maybe 2 or 3, I left and I moved with my dad when I was a teenager going into high school. I went and moved. My parents were divorced. So I went and left my mom's and I went to live with my dad, and I couldn't stand my mom. Couldn't stand her. I'm like, here you are. You chose your boyfriend over me. You didn't protect me. And so those kind of things build walls and build resentment. between the child and the parent, when we think our parents should be the ones protecting us.
And what is it in your kind of healing journey, and everything that you maybe have learned in retrospect? Why do you think that it happened to you twice? What do you think that you know these men were seeing or feeling on you to know that that was okay, or that you were a child that they could get away with that with?
I think that sexual energy is the most potent energy that is there. And I think when a child is fully playful and, just fully being raw and real and in that pure essence, I think that it's very attractive. It's very, people don't know what they're wanting from that child, but they know they're going and taking it. They're going in and they want that sexual energy. And so for me, now that I've studied it, now that I know what they're actually, going after, in my opinion, um, they're going for that feeling. They're going for that so that they can get that, you know, dopamine hit, and that, and it's different for everybody, but it could be that they want that taboo-ness. They want that doing something that's not something that they should. But for me, I think I carried sexual energy. I just, from the time I was born, I'm just I call it, um, I was tuned in and turned on from the time I was little. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think we we need to be educating and changing our culture in that that's the natural state, but it's up to the child, it's up to the person, it's up to the young teenager. It's not up to the person going and taking it, and taking that innocence and that essence from the child.
So, do you think the person that's taking the innocence and essence of the child, what about the accountability piece? Even though we may be born with that sexual energy, what about the piece
Yeah,
that it's wrong?
well, and that's where, definitely boundaries, if you don't have any and
Put
of
up
your
your break.
own sense of that is wrong, and that there is, we need to be teaching boundaries. We need to, okay, this culture, it got way out of hand. It got way out of hand from my generation, from to your generation. And now what we can do going forward is we really can embrace the point of talking about it. I was talking to two moms last night, and I was really like, she was like, "Well, what do I do? I've got a teenage boy around 11 years old, and he's starting to come into that, and he was watching porn, and he was, getting," and I said, "You need to be right up front and having conversations. Do not shun him, do not shame him, do not make him wrong, because it's a natural thing when we come into our hormones. The thing that is that you are never to touch another person without consent. Boundaries are boundaries. A person's body, whether or not they're a baby, whether or not they're a full grown woman, it's consent, and boundaries are first and foremost. And we need to be teaching that. And then we need to be teaching it's okay to talk about it. And it's okay to tell somebody that something happened to you, not to turn around and re-traumatize the person who comes and speaks about it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Now, after, your run-ins as a child, did that, what kind of I guess what kind of person did that mold you to be in relationships? Did you run into any further issues, as an adult, or any significant trauma as an adult and as a result of your trauma as a child?
I'd say because I liked it, I was a little bit more promiscuous then, during my teens, and then now that's the work I do. The work I do is helping people feel comfortable and confident in their sexuality, being able to understand their traumas and coming into that place of wholeness. But from the point of, through the years of my teens and stuff, I didn't know what this was. I didn't know what these impulses and these feelings, but here's the one thing that I did do that is coming to me now is I did sort of use it. I used it as a tool. I used it as a point of attraction. It was a point of power where I could use my body or whatever to get what I wanted. And, but so I don't think that that's necessarily good.
Marianne, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? You glitch, so I want everyone to hear that. It was a break. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So because of, that it was taken from me, I used my sexual energy and I used that promiscuity as kind of a tool, as I could, turn on my sex appeal and I could get what I wanted. So it was, a point of me being able to, that, I was a little bit freer than probably what I should be, but I used it maybe sometimes not in a good way, until I really started understanding and going through my own growth processes and everything. It became something that I could, get what I wanted.
So, and this is what I try to tell folks. You never know what child traumas, especially if a child has been violated sexually, what it can turn into. Some folks may turn to drugs. Some folks may turn to going into a shell. Some turn into prostitution. Some may go into sexual addiction, right? So in your case, yours went into a sexual addiction. Is that what
No,
happened? Or
mm-mm.
no?
No, it
No?
never was an addiction at all.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
wasn't into one of the isms, as I
Okay.
call them, the
Okay.
isms.
Is
Yeah, because I feel like, a lot of times that is masking really what the trauma is. And so a lot of times, you know, going and numbing themselves, or I didn't do that. I just knew the power of it. So I used it. I used, and you can watch somebody who's in really their sexual energy. They can, put on their heels and they can go out and they can turn it on, right? And they can draw things in that magnetism too. So I think, I could do that back in my 20s and even in my teens and my 20s, where maybe I was a little bit less responsible with it. Um, and maybe, I would say that I I went through boyfriends probably faster because I would it just if it didn't feel good, I would just get rid. But I think I never really could, all up until probably my 40s. I never really could allow myself to be loved and allow myself to love others real deeply.
That makes sense. That just based on what happened to you, that certainly makes sense. Um, Now, what kind of sparked the revelation to get into coaching? What was that it moment for you, that kind of wanted to make you a vessel to help others do this type of thing?
Well, I sure didn't go looking for it. It found me. One thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get closer. I wanted to get closer to source, God, whatever your word is. There was a impulse, and I went to a Catholic retreat and spent a week, and I just went really inward. And this is back 25 years ago. And there was just this pull. And then I went to massage school and I learned so much about the body. And while I was in massage school, I started coaching and didn't know what it was called. It was in the early AOL days. So I honed in on my intuition. But then as that kept going, I kept learning more and more and learning more and more about the body, learning more about how it was affected. And it now I'm more in the muse, which is the feminine energy, which is the creativity, and I really could not be in the full essence of my feminine until I really went in deep and did a lot of work in my sexuality and my sensuality, a lot of healing. Now I can like be expressive and also talk about it, be on your show, do the things, because there's no, I feel that it's time that we owned our voices. It's time that we come back fully owning our bodies as women and as men. And sexual healing is so powerful. So powerful. You cannot be into your full essence until you work around owning your full sexual expression.
And I guess part of that is you're showing how to love yourself completely from top to bottom, right? Mind, body, soul.
All aspects, and the word heal actually means whole. And so it's coming into all of the juiciness. I call it liberating the lusciousness. It's all of me coming forward.
Absolutely. Now, in your, coaching career, I guess what would you say is your best testimonial or best outcome or best, set of results with somebody that you've helped?
Hmm. Countless. Um, I love when there's the woman who is the fly in the back of the room, and she has spent her life being invisible and not being noticed because she was sexually molested, where she comes forward and can be on stages because and owning her voice because she's healed from that trauma. And I think also I really enjoy getting to the place where somebody can begin to experience pleasure in a whole new way. One of my clients here recently, she was born very much in a traditional um, Baptist, very, very fundamental Baptist, the one with you can't wear red lipstick and you can't dance. And so she now has gone through healing and really owns her femininity because, whether or not we're a man or a woman, we can't fully be who we are until we feel safe in our bodies and until we really integrate our masculine and feminine. And you can't do that until you feel safe in your body. So it's owning your full power when you can do that. So helping people to do that, enjoy their pleasure, enjoy their sexuality again, and find interest and curiosity in exploring it instead of hiding from it, finding that it can be something that they really enjoy.
Okay. We're going to take a really quick break and we're going to be right back. Okay, welcome back. That was quick. We don't try to make it too long. So, can you tell us one thing that helped you start, besides going to the Catholic retreat? Can you tell us one thing within yourself that you identified that you needed to start the journey to reclaiming your life again?
It's really to come back in the body. I'm a huge advocate about reconnecting to the body, not abandoning, because what happens is we abandon the body. We abandon, we get up in our head and we begin to, yeah, we walk around in it, we put clothes on it, but we really don't spend the time, in self-care, in self-love. And we may say it and we may do something like take a bubble bath, but are we really inhabiting and awakening our senses and awakening it to the point that, you're not just going through the motions of living, but you're beginning to feel again and feel from and not be afraid of feelings, but really understand that this journey called life, you can't enjoy it. It's a felt sense. A lot of, to be able to experience pleasure, you got to be able to be in the body and feel it. And there's all these neuro receptors on our hands and on our skin and taste buds and all these things. And it really begins to happen where you can find a whole new appreciation for life when you get in your body and you start smelling smells, you start tasting tastes, and you start feeling from the point of being awake and wondering, what's happening right here and right now, being in the moment. So I like the body brings you into the present moment.
Now, without giving too much of what people pay for, what would you say are three maybe techniques for somebody fresh trying to go into this mind frame, and live in the space you currently live in? What are three things they need to start that process, or can you know push them into getting there?
Yeah, well, I'd like to give you an invitation to get there, right? It's like I'd like to invite you to come home to your body. And one way is to just sit in your chair for a few minutes. We're so busy. We're trying to get to the next thing. We're trying to go. We're trying to make stuff happen. We're trying to pay our bills and do all the things. But when you can begin to bring all of your attention into right now, and then begin to trace your breath. When you begin to take a deep breath, and if you all want to do it with me for a moment, we're going to inhale and we're going to bring the breath in. And as we bring it in, we're going to bring it all the way down into our bellies. And we're going to have our hand on our belly. And I want you to take and feel your breath filling up your belly. And then I want you to hold it there for a moment. But as you're bringing it in, I want you to feel it traveling down. And I want you to become aware of any sensations that you begin to feel in your body. And so let's do it for the count of 4 going in. We're going to hold it for 4. And then when you let it out, I don't want you to just, or whatever. I want you to actually make a sound. So whatever sound feels really good, at that moment, because sound is vibrational and nobody can hear you. You can hear me, but we can't hear you. But let's take a deep breath together. And we're all going to like bring oxygen in and cleanse our body and feel really good, grounded, and centered in this moment. Okay. So 1, 2, 3 in. We're going to hold it for 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That exhalation and that allowing the breath to go out and releasing some of the tension. It's so easy for us to go and hold things in, but trauma actually is trapped emotions that never really got expressed through the body. So what we can do is begin to feel these. Take the breath in, cleanse, find those trapped emotions, and begin to use breath as a way to move the energy in and out of our body. So really being present, tracing the body, using the breath as a tool, and then beginning truly as you sit here, start feeling, um, your shoulders up around your ears? Have you had a really stressful day? Where are you feeling sensations in your body that are tight, that are tense, that maybe feel like, a little burn, a little twinge? Put a little attention there. Take another deep breath. And then as you feel it, don't try to change it or fix it. Just bring your attention to it and allow it to move. Allow it to dissipate. So that would be my 3 tips.
That's
Sorry.
nice. I like that. I like guided guided meditation type of setup because this brain and meditation just we don't mesh. We don't mesh. My mind can't be quiet for nothing.
I know, right? Like during the summertime, I'm able to meditate because I'm able to go out in my back. I don't do good. Like I have to be like in nature to really meditate. Yeah.
Yeah, and this isn't like it's there's walking meditation, this is just bringing the awareness to the present moment. It's
Mhm.
not even like this is like a beginning practice to just get you grounded and centered and feeling back into your body. And that's the first step, turning in and finding and being with ourselves, because we're so busy. Our monkey mind and our robotic mind is like you said, you can't turn it off.
Mhm.
So this just gives us an opportunity to become a little bit more awake and aware in this present moment, bringing us to the moment.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So,
Now, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh yeah, no, I was gonna ask, when did you? I know you regained. When did you figure that you didn't love yourself? And how long after the retreat how long did it take you to regain loving yourself again?
I'm going to say that I loved myself, but I
Hmm.
think that there's different depths of loving ourselves. I think there's different depths of reconnecting. And I think and I'm still continuing. I'm still continuing. I think it's a lifelong journey. I don't think one day we just go, okay, well, I love myself. I think there's parts of, this realization and peeling layers. And I think now I can truly have a lot more freedom in who Marianne is and how I want to express myself in the world. And I think
Hmm.
that's a sense of true loving myself, giving myself the freedom to be me and not try to filter it, not try to make it. My mom would be, Marianne, you can't talk about sex. You can't, this book, where I'm in it and I talk about my journey. I talk about, if anybody wants to read more about it, It's in there, and it's a compilation book. It's not, but it's what we've done as women. We disconnect from and fragment ourselves, and so I think I'm continuing to give myself freedom to be truly Marianne, and no matter how I want to express myself today. Do I want to look like a hippie? Do I want to, it's it, there's a lot of love when I can say, Marianne, you're enough. I'm just enough the way I am right now.
Definitely, definitely. I love that. Now, I do want to go into, in the nice little kind of homepage we set up for you, your intro.
Aw.
We did list a lot of your accomplishments here. In your long career, your over 20-year career. What have been some notable milestones for you? What are your proudest accomplishments?
Okay, so two of my proudest accomplishments are having my daughters and being a mom.
Hold on. What
And
was the
that,
first one? You broke up a little. You broke up a little bit. Can you start back from the beginning again?
yeah,
Sorry.
two of my
Okay.
greatest accomplishments are being a mom, being with my daughters, and being a mom that they can come to, that we have open, honest communication, that they can tell me that, whatever's going on with them, that, I can be there without, I try. Now I'm not perfect, but I try to be there without judgment, when something comes up and something happens. I try to just give them that love and support. So that's my first and foremost. Um, and then I want to say that my second is truly following Marianne's path. It's not everybody else's. When I started coaching, I didn't know what I was doing. It was at the beginning wave of coaches. My family had thought I joined a cult. Nobody. It was like, what is this? We don't know what this is. And now, as the muse, it's the same thing. What's a muse? So I think those are my listening to my intuition and listening to God directing me. Um, that is one of my truest. And then I think this book. I think also being on stages, sharing the message, developing programs, and the one true area that I think that I've made the most amount of difference is truly being a person who will, out on social media and stuff, talk about sex, talk about where my journey out there, so other women can step into their bold expressions of themselves, and really helping a lot of men and women rise to better and more expressions of themselves, growing their personal gains, making millions turn into multi-millions, because I work a lot with sexual energy and sexual transmutation, which is in the book Think and Grow Rich. If you've read the book, there's a lot of bringing it to the attention, but not a lot of people know what to do with that. So it's about cultivating your sexual energy and using it for your own growth and for the good of humanity. And I think that is when I choose clients, I really choose clients that have a passion to do good in the world.
I like that because the energy behind sexual energy just it can go left. It could be very much so displaced. So I do love the aspect of teaching people to be very informed and healthy about it. That I like that mantra. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there is can you give the audience like maybe two ways to identify overcoming sexual traumas as a child, like just some suggestions on how they can start the journey to healing?
Well, I'd like to can we back up a little bit right there? I want to I want them to help
Yeah.
identify possibly what's happening in their world right now. So if you're feeling dull, if you're feeling like life has lost its meaning, if you feel like, you're just going through the motions, and we talk a lot about nowadays, we talk a lot about burnout. Um, Part of burnout is really you're not alive. And I bring some awareness to, and I talk about that a lot of people are walking around dead before they're dead. They're walking around fully, they're just going through the emotions, and so I like to really have clients look at, are you miserable in your life? Are you maybe feel like you're missing, and you're asking yourself, is this all life has gotten to? So then ask yourself, did you have some sexual trauma in your early days? And, did you suppress it? Did you, um, are you working with someone? Because I really think it's important to find someone who is a trauma informed specialist, whether or not it be a counselor or a coach that specializes. I think it's important to have someone help and guide you and give you some tools. So, with that, journaling is a great asking yourself some questions that, did I experience? Do I remember where am I today? Am I really guarded in my body? Because some people, the trauma shut them off, the memories off, and they can't remember the trauma. So it's like if you're feeling like you're very shy, conscious, or you feel like, you want to be a wallflower, you don't want to be, and it's a little different than being an introvert, but ask yourself the questions, could there be some trauma back there? So that's first and foremost, is begin to get in the dialogue. Begin to dialogue with yourself, your little girl, your little boy, the child in you, and begin to start like talking back and forth to your inner child. And then I'm still all about getting in the body and becoming more aware of your body, and bringing it more alive. Because if you want more energy, you have to be more in this body. And, are you constricting, or are you expanding? And the way to feel better, feel more alive, I say come alive to a whole new vibe, is to begin to embrace all of you, the good, the bad, the not so good, and really, like quit making it wrong. It's part of your journey, but begin to dialogue with it.
Absolutely. And what would you say creatively are things that people could, get into, that possibly have helped you through your healing process, whether that, creative things, hobbies, what have you found to, help you through some things?
Painting. It's like one part of my journey, huge part of my journey, um, was I was in burnout, very heavily in burnout. And one part of it was coming home to me was actually sitting down, taking the time to mix colors and be in the moment and paint. Art therapy is huge for um, being able to express yourself, being able to get things out. Now, mine are very much bold, bright colors, and it was like this infusion of color. But some people need to splash black paint and just like whip it out there, and get big and bold and let these pent up feelings. Or you could doodle, or you could do so. Art is a big one. Music is another one. Everything from just tapping a pen, and making a drum, but it's expression. It's letting things come through you. It doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be to sell. It just allow yourself to express whatever it is that you want to express.
And I always like to ask, people that have, had what they feel are clear callings to do other things. Was there, a particular career you wanted to go into, as a child or as growing up? What was your main direction, even though we've seen where you ended up?
Yeah, I wanted to be a photographer. I went to college to be a photographer. And, it was kind of at that time where, artists don't make money. Um, and I chose to use it now. I use it in many different ways. I use it with my clients where I can use it. I use it several ways. I use it as a tool to be able to get them to see the world in new ways, bringing things into focus, taking things out of focus, but really to, like you and I can describe, even this unicorn, and you're going to describe it one way and I'm going to describe it another way. So it's seeing the world anew. It's seeing the world in new ways that maybe you didn't even think about, and expanding it. And then the other thing that I like to do with the photography is I like to take and transform my clients by taking a picture of them. So I can, I can get them to come into their full expression, and be able to, see themselves in new ways that they never did before, and be able to come into a more confident, a more aligned way. So, that photography is that part. And then massage therapy. Massage therapy was something I didn't set out to do, but it's something that called me. And I use it. I use all of these things that along my journey as tools in my work with my clients.
So you do it all.
Yeah, I do. I work, pleasure and play are the two main areas. And I like to say pleasure and play are the feminine way.
Yeah.
And I believe that, we've been taught that pleasure is a bad thing. We've been taught to get busy, stop daydreaming, stop, don't play. Play is horrible. But I think we need to play from the time we are little kids all the way until we're dead, because that's how we learn. That's how we can really experience the fullness of life. Is be curious, be adventurous, explore life. I say life is my playground, and how do I want to live it today?
So is this your artwork in the back?
Yeah, there's
Are you
some.
saying?
There's one that I wish was in here, um, that I could show you, but there's one. Let me show you. There's one right here, but I wish my turtle was in here. I'd show you my turtle. Yeah, this is my artwork. Can you see that back up there, the bowl with
Yes.
but this is another one. This is just a flamingo. So it's, a lot of bright, fun, playful energy. Oops. So yeah, I,
You're a really good artist.
oh, thank you. I enjoy it. I don't do it to necessarily, do it for someone. It's for me. And then I love to, gift
I
it
was
out
gonna say
there.
I need an elephant with the trunk up.
You like the trunk up elephant? Okay. Okay.
Yes,
You
I
got it.
do.
You got it.
Color. Yeah, okay.
Colorful one? Okay.
Colorful.
You got it.
Okay.
I'll I'll do some healing and we'll gift that right on over there.
Okay. Okay.
What about you, Sid?
Um, I definitely like bright colors. Um, I wouldn't say there's a symbol that particularly has stuck with me or anything like that, but I definitely am a bright colored person. Um,
Okay. I
yeah,
have something in mind for you.
cool.
Okay.
Ooh.
You'll have
Well,
to.
this at this point of this show is where we like to again just kind of shine some light on your accolades, on your projects that you're working on, um, your business, anything that we can do or anything that you have going on where you would like to draw traffic to, have people check out. If any of the viewers want to communicate with you, work with you, anything like that, you want to lay it all out here. So you have the stage.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So I do have one entry level program that is just fantastic. That is called the Odyssey of Enchantment, and that is where we begin the process of exploration into our creativity and begin healing process. It's called the Odyssey of Enchantment. It's at contact me at Marianne St. Clair, but you can get to the page of Odyssey of Enchantment at biz of pleasure.com/enchantment. And then the next step, which is like a 8-week program where a friend of mine includes breath work, very transformational, deep breath work that goes through the neural pathways, creates cleansing and brings in lots of energy. We partner together through inner child type of clearing, breath work, all the way to calling in your next clients or calling in your something that you want to create in your life. It's a journey, and that is called Passport to Pleasure. And so it's biz of pleasure again, bizofpleasure.com/passport. And these are two programs that they're very healing, very transformative, but they're not heavy, they're light, because I'm all about the feminine. I'm let's make it fun, let's make it playful, let's do some healing, but let's not bypass, the trauma and stuff, but we don't have to spend forever in my work um spend like in a loop of just perpetuating it. I want us to feel new felt experiences. I want you to have the life that you want. And so, Marianne St. Clara, she's had all over the bottom. I do what's called a pleasure mapping session. That's fun because it takes and
Hmm.
looks at, what is it that you enjoy? What is it that you've sort of put on the back burner that would truly make your soul feel so happy if you started doing again, but you've put it back there and it's something that you're not doing. And we look at that, we go into it, we go into your pleasure and we map it all out. What would really feel really, really good if you were doing more of this? What would life be like? And so we get in there and we give you permission to really dream and have, an exploration of what it is that you don't allow yourself to, because, oh my gosh, we've got so much guilt and we've got so much shame that we carry every day, and we couldn't ask for that. That's just not, we can't do that for ourselves. everybody else needs something, and we put ourselves on the last of the list. And so what I say is, let's do a pleasure mapping session. Let's bring you first and foremost to the party, and let's really find out what it is that you really want to enjoy in life.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And, we're big on that too. And I always tell people, put yourself first because you can't love anyone if you're not loving yourself first.
Hmm.
So,
Only to the depth that you can love yourself can you love another.
amen. So we are at time. God, sometimes I'm like, geez, where does the hour go? Right? We want to thank you, Marianne, for tuning in to Unfiltered, Unspoken, and sharing your life experience because you definitely gave us a twist to the traumas because we always hear like total opposite. And if y'all missed that, oh my God, you got to tune back into the beginning twist of that. Marianne went through traumas, and we're bringing awareness. It's no matter how it went, it was wrong. Period. No one should be violating a child, but her first experience wasn't the penetration piece of it. It was more of a pleasure and it was a twist because she couldn't understand it as a child, but she actually liked it. And the second time she didn't, and she was violated, and her mom was actually next to her, and she had a resentment towards her mom for the longest time, and she had to reclaim her life again. And going through a retreat, she is now empowering other women to regain and reclaim their lives again. And that is very big of you and powerful, and your life experience is definitely going to be a testimony to so many. And as we continue to bring awareness, as Marianne said, you don't have to be silent. Like a child should be able to speak comfortably their traumas, and as adults, we should be listening to the traumas that our children are going through, and to pay attention, especially to the behavioral piece of it, because the second time she did have behavioral issues and it showed. So, parents, please pay attention to your kids, especially if they go from one way to another. That is a sign of something and it should not be ignored. And please take the time and listen to your child, because a lot of our youth are scared to speak out because they're scared that you're not going to believe them. So we want to protect
Mhm.
our youth. And again, thank you for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken. And we are going to continue to bring life experiences to help others in hopes that it will connect with someone to help them with what they are going through. We love you and have a wonderful day.